The millionaire humiliates the beggar boy until his unbelievable talent leaves him speechless. In the heart of the city where dreams are made or shattered, a notorious millionaire named Vincent sat in his gleaming black car, frowning at the world like it owed him something. He was a titan in business, a man who built his empire on the backs of others, always demanding loyalty and perfection, while giving nothing in return. His perfectly tailored suit, crisp and expensive, exuded power, but deep down, he often felt emptiness gnawing at his insides. That day, the sun was shining, cars whizzed by, and the city buzzed with life. But there, on the corner of Maple Street, a beggar boy named Samuel played a violin, his small fingers dancing over the strings. The sound sliced through the noise, a haunting melody that shook the air with pure emotion. Gorgeous, but heart-wrenching. For Vincent, it was an affront. Who did this boy think he was? With a flicker of annoyance, Vincent ordered his driver to pull over. He emerged, ready to unleash his condescending ire upon the child. "What a nuisance!" he bellowed, his voice rich with disdain. "Can't you play somewhere else? You're ruining my day!" Samuel's eyes widened, brows knitting together in confusion. He had lost himself in the music, bearing his soul to the world. The people passing by paused, some sneering, others shaking their heads. But there was something in his music that held a strange pull, almost magnetic. Even Vincent felt it, against his will. "What a pathetic display!" he spat, causing a ripple of whispers among the small gathering. Yet as he turned to leave, he paused, caught in a web of sound that ensnared him. The melody twisted and turned, filling the air with echoes of agony and hope. This wasn't just noise. It was a raw pulse of life. Suddenly, Vincent's harsh demeanor began to falter. He felt a tightness in his chest, a chill creeping down his spine. It was like looking into a dark mirror, reflecting more than just Samuel's scruffy clothes and dirt-streaked skin. It revealed his own loneliness, his own emptiness. A pang of empathy struck hard, and he found himself rooted to the spot. He was suddenly a king, staring into the eyes of a jester, realizing the jester's song held truths he'd never faced. The murmurs around him swelled. Some applauded, some criticized. The stage had shifted, yet Vincent remained engulfed in the music, vulnerable, standing on the precipice of something new. Then, a sharp twist of fate struck, just as they were beginning to understand each other. News of a corporate scandal erupted like wildfire through the city. Vincent's empire teetered, leaving him with a choice that felt impossible. In that moment, the boy he had ridiculed might just hold the key to his redemption. Could Vincent drop his facade and embrace the vulnerability he'd shunned for so long? And what of Samuel's past? A bond was forming, nestled in the chaos, and both knew that to navigate their worlds, they would need to confront truths that lay buried. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button down there to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, leave that powerful like. That helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As the disturbing news of Vincent's corporate scandal spread like wildfire, the air around him thickened with tension. Samuel, still gripping his violin, felt the energy shift. The crowd was turning restless. Vincent could feel their eyes, scornful, curious, a mix of sympathy and judgment. Yet he was entranced by the boy and his music. feeling this strange connection that pulled at his very soul. But just as a wave of understanding washed over him, chaos erupted. A piercing scream fractured the air. Vincent turned, startled. A woman was running towards them, gasping for breath, panic etched on her face. "Help! Someone, please!" A shiver ran through the crowd. Confusion turned to alarm. "What happened?" someone called out, eyes darting around. "There's been an accident!" the woman cried, desperate as she pointed down the street. "They've hit a child!" Vincent's heart dropped. The world went silent for just an instant. Then the crowd surged. People raced down the street. Vincent caught in the current, helpless to resist. He pushed forward, adrenaline fueling his legs. The music of Samuel's violin faded behind him, replaced by the thumping of panicked hearts and the pounding of feet on pavement. When they reached the scene, Vincent's breath caught. In the middle of the road lay a small figure, twisted and still. A child, no older than 8. He was sprawled, a bicycle crumpled beside him like a broken toy. The sight shattered something deep inside Vincent. He dropped to his knees, the crispness of his suit suddenly irrelevant, as he reached for the boy. The frenzy around him melted away. Voices became muffled whispers. Samuel approached slowly, his violin forgotten. The child's eyes were closed, lashes fluttering faintly. Vincent pressed his fingers to the boy's wrist, searching for a pulse. Cold, lifeless. Despair washed over him, mixing violently with guilt. And then, right there, in that moment of anguish, a realization hit Vincent like a freight train. He turned, eyes finding Samuel, who stood watching with wide, frightened eyes. "This is your brother, isn't it?" Vincent's voice trembled, the accusation sharp as his chest tightened painfully. Samuel's face drained of color. "No, I don't know him," he stammered, but doubt flashed across his face. "But he looks so familiar." As they locked eyes, something cracked within Samuel. Images flashed in his mind. A home, a family, a life now lost. The crowd buzzed, but all Vincent could hear was a dull roar in his ears. He felt suffocated by the weight of this revelation. Suddenly, the boy's mother burst through, wailing. She knelt beside her child, cradling him, the world around fading away into the background. Samuel staggered back, looking ill. Uncertainty clouded his eyes. No, this can't be. Vincent's mind reeled. Could it be true? Had he unwittingly mocked someone so close, so deeply connected? He had ridiculed the boy's talent. But what if that talent held the key to something far more significant? Like the truth of their entangled lives. The voices of the crowd became an unrecognizable blur. In that moment, vulnerability surged back. Vincent looked at Samuel, who seemed to cradle the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Tie us together, boy," Vincent whispered. "Show me what this means." But just as Samuel opened his mouth, a flicker of recognition crossed his features. Was that a hint of betrayal? The warmth of connection between the two began to feel like a distant memory. And then silence fell again, heavy and thick. No one could move. Everything hung in the balance. What had they unleashed with that one tragic moment? What truths lay buried beneath the surface, waiting to erupt? Samuel's trembling hands gripped the violin as he turned his gaze towards Vincent, hinting at a much darker secret. The air crackled with unsaid words, and the story was far from over. The air felt like it was thickening, filled with a weight that neither Vincent nor Samuel could escape. Silence hovered over the scene, heavy and taut. Both stared at the child lying on the ground, the chaos of the crowd fading into muffled whispers, leaving only the sharpness of grief and disbelief. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the street. It was jarring, like a gunshot, pulling everyone back to reality. Vincent spun around, and Samuel's eyes widened, the haunting pallor of his face turning ghostly. In disbelief, they watched as a man emerged from the crowd, wild-eyed and disheveled, clutching a small, ornate box. "Stop!" he bellowed, pointing an accusing finger at Samuel. You don't get to play the victim here." His voice was raw with anger, and it made everyone flinch. In an instant, attention shifted, focusing on this stranger, and the air crackled with tension once more. "What do you mean?" Samuel croaked, confusion clouding his features. Vincent's heart raced. Who was this man? "He's lying. That's not just some beggar boy. He's a fraud." The man's voice sliced through the murmur of the crowd. "You think you know him? You don't. He's not even who he thinks he is." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Samuel's face paled further, confusion morphing into dread. "What are you talking about? I've always—" At that moment, the stranger swung the box open, revealing a surprising collection of old photographs and faded letters. "Look, this is him! Samuel! Look!" The crowd leaned in, curiosity overtaking their grief. Vincent, sensing this was not about to end peacefully, stepped closer to Samuel, protective instincts kicking in. "What's going on?" The man's eyes bore into Samuel's, fierce and uncompromising. "You can't hide from the truth forever. You have a family who's been searching for you, your real family." Samuel stumbled back, words caught in his throat. I don't understand. I'm just a violin player. I don't have anyone." Panic and fear flooded his voice. The man's nostrils flared, anger morphing into desperation. "Your mother. She thought you were dead. This isn't just some coincidence. You," pain laced his words as he pointed at the photograph in the box. "You were taken. They made." "You forget." Vincent's stomach turned. Underneath Samuel's scruffy exterior, there was a hidden truth. A talent that could be his brother's key to a past thought lost. But fear gripped him. Could the boy really have been taken? The crowd shifted uneasily, whispers rising. Some expressed sympathy, some disbelief. Vincent glanced at Samuel, whose breath had quickened. He looked caught between rage and fear, a storm building behind his trembling eyes. "Is this true?" Vincent asked, his voice steady, though he felt his own world tilting. Samuel's gaze darted to him, searching for an ally, a lifeline. "I don't know," Samuel shouted, frustration spilling over. "I just wanted to play." As if in response to their tension, another crack echoed, louder this time. A gunshot blared somewhere down the street, freezing everyone in place. Panic erupted, and the crowd surged. Vincent felt his grip on reality slip. "Samuel!" he shouted above the chaos, but the boy was already lost in the fray. Bodies pressed against each other, confusion reignited, and screams echoed. In the swirl of limbs, Vincent couldn't see him anymore. His heart raced, pounding with the fear of losing this boy he had just begun to understand. "Hold on to your truth," he yelled, but whether Samuel heard him was uncertain. Then another sound cut through the chaos, soft yet piercing, the haunting notes of a violin played amidst the fear. It was Samuel, his fingers dancing across the strings, lost in his music, weaving a thread of calm in the storm. As everyone froze, captivated by the beauty under duress, Vincent's mind raced. What was this talent? What was this boy hiding? In that moment, everything ignited anew. Samuel was no longer just a beggar boy. The possibilities unfurled like a banner in the wind, And with it, Vincent realized, they were on the brink of something far bigger. But with secrets emerging and truths buried, chaos awaited just around the corner. Vincent clutched at his chest, the weight of realization pressuring him. Would they ever unravel this web together? Or was it destined to tear them apart? The air felt thickening, filled with a weight that made Vincent and Samuel stand still. Silence hovered, heavy and taut, as they stared at the child lying on the ground, grief wrapping around them. Suddenly, the world shattered again. The sharp crack of a gunshot broke through. It jolted the crowd, causing everyone to duck, confusion intensifying. "Samuel!" Vincent shouted, but the boy was lost amidst horrified whispers and frantic movement. People scattered, eyes wide. Fear coursing through their veins. Vincent's heart raced. He pushed against the throng, searching desperately. And then he saw him. A flash of Samuel's hair vanishing behind a car. "Samuel!" Vincent called out again, urgency lacing his voice. But Samuel was already tuning his violin. The notes soaring like an angel's cry amidst the chaos. He was pouring his heart into every lingering note, drawing the crowd's attention back to him, bridging the fear with something beautiful. But that wild-eyed man, still clutching the box, was not done. "You're not free, boy. This is not your rescue. You don't know what you're a part of." His voice rang out across the plaza, escalating tension into a consuming fire. Samuel's fingers paused, the bow suspended above the strings. Confusion, morphing into something darker. "What do you mean?" His voice trembled, reflecting the storm raging inside him. The man's face twisted, agonized. "You were stolen, Samuel. You have a legacy, a birthright, your real name." He gasped for breath, eyes darting around in panic. "Is not Samuel." Gasps erupted from the bystanders. What did he just say? A wave of disbelief rolled through the crowd, and Vincent could see the realization hitting some, their expressions turning to shock. "Your family is famous," the man continued, desperation spilling forth. "Your name carries weight. They will come for you. They will tear your life apart to take you back." His voice swelled, drowning out the music, pulling at Vincent's heart like a vice tightening around it. "Wait, what?" Samuel's voice shook. He dropped the bow, his expression a chaotic storm of anger and fear. "No, I'm just me. I don't have any family. No legacy. I'm nothing." But the man stepped closer, thrusting a photograph into Samuel's hands, eyes blazing. It was an old image, fading with time, but Vincent could make out a boy who looked like Samuel, standing beside a wealthy family. Their smiles seemed false, shadows darkening their faces. "This was you once. You were taken. They thought you died." Vincent felt the ground beneath him tremble. His mind raced. Could the boy really be someone special? What did this mean for them both? But in the storm of emotions, a thread of dread twisted tighter, choking hope. "That's not true!" Samuel screamed, his voice cracking. "I don't know them! I don't know you!" With that, he turned, his eyes searching the crowd, the violin rolling away from him. Panic etched its way across his face, uncertainty blossoming like a dark flower. Then suddenly, a loud explosion of sound sliced through the air. A car, losing control, skidded through the street, screaming tires and shattered glass. It collided with the crowd, sending bodies sprawling, screams erupting like fireworks in the night sky. In the chaos, Vincent's heart stopped. "No!" he shouted, seeing bodies fall, the sudden violence drowning out everything. Samuel was in the open, unprotected, eyes wide with terror. "Get back!" Vincent yelled, lunging into the crowd, but everything felt slow. Samuel's face turned pale, the world around them, a lovely nightmare unfolding in slow motion. As Vincent reached for him, a shadow loomed over Samuel. Just as the dust clouded his vision, he saw it. A figure, wearing a dark hood, reaching for the boy as if claiming him. "Samuel!" Vincent roared, veins pumping with adrenaline. The boy jerked back, eyes dilating with fear, memories he couldn't grasp swirling within him, and Vincent felt the ground beneath him crumble. What were they dragging to the surface? What reality lay beyond this chaos? The truth sharpened like a knife, drawing them all into a dark abyss. And for a second, Vincent hesitated. Was this the end, or just the beginning of a torment they couldn't anticipate? Samuel's breath came in short gasps, confusion swirling in his chest as he stood frozen. Vincent's heart hammered in rhythm with the chaos around them. The crowd's panic surged like a tide, yet his eyes were locked onto Samuel, who was standing at the edge of a precipice where fear met the unknown. Then, just as the man with the box surged forward, a sudden explosion of sound cut through the air. It wasn't just the crack of chaos anymore. It was the unmistakable report of a gun. A figure emerged, a shadow against the chaos, aiming directly at Samuel. Vincent's stomach dropped. Time slowed. "No!" Vincent shouted, lunging into motion. But the world seemed to conspire against him. Everything around him blurred, and all he could see was the horror unfolding. "Get down!" He reached for Samuel, whose eyes widened with shock. But in that split second, just behind them, a gunshot ripped through the air again, louder, closer this time. Samuel flinched, and something struck him. It was a small dart like a tranquilizer. His body went limp. Vincent's world spiraled. "Samuel!" he bellowed as he watched the boy collapse, body crumpling as if all the strength had been robbed from him. The crowd recoiled. Gasps of horror rose like smoke. The man with the box looked horrified, stepping backward, disbelief etched into his features. "What have you done?" he shouted, eyes wide, pointing at the figure who had shot them. Dart. A woman emerged from the crowd, her face stern, eyes burning with anger. "It's too late. He has to go with us," she barked, her voice fierce. "You don't understand." Vincent's chest tightened. "Go? Where are you taking him?" Panic knotted his insides. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. "You think he's just a boy? No, he's the key. We've waited years to recover him. He belongs with us, with his family." It hit Vincent like a punch to the gut. "His family? You mean, what? You're trying to take him back?" "Yes," she snapped, frustration bubbling over. "You don't see. Everything you've done, it's all been for nothing." Vincent's blood ran cold. His mind raced. Everything he thought he knew, it was unraveling. Samuel wasn't just a boy with talent playing to the streets. He was someone else, someone valuable. Then it struck him like shards of ice falling into his heart. Could Samuel really be the boy from that photograph? The one taken from his family? Panic surged in Vincent's veins. But the woman's eyes glinted with something darker. "You should know," she said low, leaning closer, words dripping with venom. "You're not just a bystander in this. You're more connected than you realize." The crowd gasped, a collective shudder rippling through them, uncertainty cloaking the air. What did she mean? With a flinch, Samuel's eyes fluttered, the tranquilizer wearing off. Quicker than they anticipated. "Help me," Samuel murmured weakly, eyes trying to focus on Vincent. Vincent reached out, heart racing. "I'm here! Hold on!" But as Samuel fought to regain consciousness, the woman took a step back, raising a small device, a remote. "Then you'll see the truth," she declared, her finger hovering, ready to press. Without warning, a bright white light shot from the device. It enveloped the crowd in a blinding glow. Vincent shielded his eyes, panic clawing at his throat. "Samuel!" But as the light faded, everything shifted. People stood still, jaws dropped, stunned. Samuel blinked, confusion clouding his features. Vincent's heart raced, dread pooling in his stomach. What had just happened? The truth loomed in the air, heavy and oppressive. Samuel's eyes darted around, lost and pleading. "Vincent," he whispered, voice trembling. Everything about the boy shifted. A flicker of something profound behind his eyes. "What have you done to him?" Vincent demanded, staring at the woman. But she only smiled, chilling warmth spreading through the crowd. "Welcome back, Samuel," she breathed. In that moment, the world tilted on its axis. Beneath the surface of uncertainty lay a truth so deep, so unsettling. It threatened to tear apart everything Vincent thought he knew. How were they all connected? What had just been unleashed? The crowd stared, breaths held, as the bright light faded. Samuel blinked, confusion swirling in his eyes. And Vincent felt his heart sink. "Welcome back, Samuel," the woman said, with a smile that sent chills through the air. The crowd shifted, whispers racing like wildfires. Did they just step back into a time where truths were hidden? Was Samuel really a lost prince like the stories warned? Vincent's chest tightened, a knot of dread binding him tighter. Samuel opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught. Then laughter erupted from the man with the box, an unsettling sound. "Now he remembers, just like you will, Vincent." His voice rang out, jagged like glass. The crowd flinched, confusion buoying more questions than answers. "Me?" Vincent repeated, heart hammering. "What do you mean?" The man stepped closer, eyes wild, a mix of anger and desperation. "Both of you are tethered by blood. You didn't know? You've been living a lie, hiding behind false memories." Vincent's stomach dropped. What was he saying? Panic rushed through him, crashing over waves of disbelief. He focused on Samuel, whose eyes were wide now, realizing something deeper was unfolding. "Blood? What do you mean?" Samuel's voice trembled, fear spilling into his words. The tension thickened, hanging over them, suffocating. "Your mother," the man said, words stumbling over each other. "She's not just anyone. She had connections, power. And Vincent," he pointed, "you're part of this legacy too." Gasps erupted. Confusion morphed into stunned shock across the crowd. "Shut up," Vincent shouted, clenching his fists. "You don't know what you're talking about." But the man pressed on. "But I do. You see, Samuel was taken to sever the bond, to erase knowledge of each other. Your lives were designed to collide, but they hid the truth." Before Vincent could refute, the man pushed forward, his voice rising above the chaos. "Remember the day you both lost everything? The fire, the chaos? You were supposed to protect each other." Vincent froze, chest tightening. What fire? What chaos? A look of panic spread across Samuel's features. "Vincent, I don't remember any of this." Then, from nowhere, a sharp, blaring siren broke through the noise, drowning them in yet another wave of confusion. Heads turned, instincts kicking in, but Vincent couldn't look away from the man. The woman's eyes flickered with something, almost like fear. "This isn't the right time," she cried out, voice shaking. "We need to go." "No!" the man shouted back, fists clenched. "They'll come for him if we don't act fast." And then, all at once, the ground beneath them shook fiercely. Panic splintered through the crowd. A nearby building rumbled. Bricks and debris cascading down. Screams erupted. Vincent grabbed Samuel's arm, adrenaline flooding through him. "We need to move!" The world descended into chaos. People ran in every direction, eyes wide and frantic. But Vincent and Samuel stood their ground, pulses racing, the gravity of their entwined destinies crashing down. "Was the fire real?" Samuel asked, barely audible over the cacophony, confusion and fear dancing in his eyes. "Did we lose everyone?" Suddenly, from behind them, the air crackled, and a cloaked figure emerged from the shadows, face obscured. "You should have left well enough alone," it hissed, voice dripping with malice. Vincent's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "I'm the one who ended it," they said, raising a device that glowed ominously. "And now it's time to finish what was started." Time seemed to slow. In that instant, the gravity of what had just been revealed sank in like stones in his heart. "Run!" Vincent shouted, pulling Samuel. But the air crackled, a force pulling them, wrapping around them like a net, threatening to trap them. "Vincent, what is happening?" Samuel cried out, desperation in his tone. But as the dust around them thickened, Vincent had no answers. He only felt that dread deepening. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted, engulfing them both in darkness. And just before everything faded, Vincent heard one last horrible phrase echo in his ears. "You'll remember soon enough." The world shifted, swallowing them whole, leaving uncertainty and chaos in its wake. What did it all mean? What had they unleashed together? The world turned dark, like a blanket suffocating every hopeful spark. Vincent felt it deep in his bones, the coldness of uncertainty, the weight of his heart dropping into an abyss. He reached for Samuel, but darkness wrapped around them, pushing him back. Time twisted. Seconds stretched into lifetimes. The sound of chaos faded, replaced by a pulse, slow and steady, like a heartbeat echoing in the void. Vincent's chest ached, each breath a struggle. "What's happening?" Samuel's voice echoed, a whisper lost in this murky silence. His eyes widened, fear coursing through him like electricity. Then, from the depth of shadows, a figure emerged. This one wasn't cloaked. This one wore a face. Calm, familiar. Vincent's breath caught. It was a woman, her hair cascading in waves. It was his mother. "Mom?" Vincent's voice trembled, disbelief clawing at his sanity. She hadn't been alive for years. "What are you doing here?" Her gaze was deep and piercing. "You need to understand, Vincent. Everything's connected." Her voice was steady, but there was an urgency in her eyes. "Connected? We're in danger. Who is this woman?" He pointed toward the figure. Samuel's body tensed beside him, and the man from before faltered. Confusion etched on his face. But she didn't answer. Instead, her expression transformed to something darker. "I never wanted this for you. The truth." "What truth?" Samuel gasped, panic rising, glancing between Vincent and the woman. "What truth about me?" "Samuel, you must listen," she urged, stepping closer, grounding the chaos around them. "You're not just a boy. You were never just a boy." Then, in a flash, it hit Vincent. Memories swirled in an instant. A household filled with laughter, warmth, fractured by something so deep. "Samuel, you're You're my brother? Then she stepped even closer, eyes brightening. There was an accident all those years ago. A fire set to destroy us. We were taken, hidden. Her voice broke, but she pressed on. But you, Samuel, both of you, you share a power, a legacy. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Stunned faces all turned toward them as murmurings rose, tension threading through the spectators. But I don't understand, Samuel stammered, his voice trembling with disbelief. What do you mean? She hesitated, as if choosing her words carefully. You were meant to keep the family together, to protect what was lost. You had to find each other first. Vincent felt a rush of dread. What? What do you mean? A cold sweat dripped down the back of his neck. Suddenly, the cloaked figure glanced between them, eyes widening with realization. No, this cannot be. I was supposed to complete the task. Vincent clenched his fists. Task? But before anyone could speak again, the ground shook violently. The building trembled, metal screeching. People screamed, running in every direction. Get down! Vincent yelled, instinctively pulling Samuel close. Together, they stumbled, trying to shield themselves from falling debris. Don't you see? His mother shouted over the chaos. They're coming. The ones who took you. We don't have time. Then everything spiraled. A flash of light, a disturbance in the air, and with it, a scream, sharp and piercing. The cloaked figure staggered back, clutching their head, thrashing as if caught in a storm. In the midst of it all, a window shattered, glass raining down. Vincent's heart raced. They were so close, yet everything felt so far away. And then, like a roar from the heavens, the cloaked figure burst into a cacophony of sound, transforming into a swirl of darkness, a shadow that stretched and broadened. You don't know what you're unleashing, they shrieked, voice echoing like a thunderclap. Samuel grabbed Vincent's arm, eyes wide. What do they mean? But before Vincent could respond, the shadow lunged forward, and something snapped inside him, a memory he didn't know he had. Stop! He screamed, reaching out. The shadow paused, swirling. Faces began to emerge within it, familiar faces, long lost and hidden behind time. His father, lost in the tragedy, collapsing into darkness. His mother, the one standing there, further connected than he ever realized. As the confusion poured forth, the realization slammed into him like a tidal wave. Everyone in this moment was entwined, the shadows of their past merging with the present. I know who you are, Vincent shouted, breathless, and I see the ties. The crowd staggered back in disbelief. They were not mere spectators. They were all part of a fabric woven together, threads of secrets and lies. But before they could make sense of it, the ground trembled again, and in an instant, Vincent realized darkness was rising. It wanted to swallow him whole, threaten the bond he just understood could be powerful. Run, he shouted, pulling Samuel toward him. We have to escape. And as they turned to flee, they heard the shadow's voice, eerie and powerful. The truth won't let you escape. You will remember. You will face what has been hidden. The air thickened, fate entwined at their feet, and as they raced into the chaos, a searing question burned in Vincent's mind. Would the truth destroy them or set them free? Vincent pulled Samuel close, the chaos swirling around them like a storm. The cloaked figure loomed in the backdrop, the air thick with tension. We need to keep moving, Vincent shouted, but Samuel looked back, confusion etched across his face. Do we really need to? Samuel breathed, trembling. I don't understand what's happening. Vincent stared into his brother's eyes. I don't fully understand either, but we can't let them take you. We'll figure this out together. Just as they turned to flee, a sudden, blinding light erupted from the cloaked figure. Vincent felt it wash over him, freezing him in place. He glimpsed shadows flickering at the edges of his vision, memories twisting and turning just out of reach. "No!" Samuel yelled, his voice a plea, caught in the grip of fear as he stumbled backward. "What's happening to me?" In that instant, Vincent felt something shift in the air, an electric charge pulsing with raw energy. A scream of agony pierced the night, echoing through the streets. Vincent instinctively shielded Samuel, but the light enveloped them. Everything warped and twisted, faces morphing, becoming menacing and familiar. And just as suddenly, the light faded, and the crowd gasped. Vincent blinked, shock hitting him like a slap. A figure stood before them, towering and imposing. The air crackled with menace. It was a woman, eerily similar to the mother he thought he'd lost. "Mom," he croaked, disbelief flooding his veins. She stepped forward, eyes glinting with a knowing smile. "I hoped you would both find me." The crowd stirred, whispers of fear and recognition slicing through the tension. Samuel's eyes widened, shock mixing with disbelief. "You're alive?" He staggered, his breath hitching in his throat. "Yes, but there's so much you don't know." She reached out, glowing tendrils of energy wrapping around her. "I am the one who protected you, and now I need your help to reclaim what was taken from us." But just as she spoke, a thunderous crash echoed through the square, vibrations rattling the ground. The crowd stumbled back, panic flooding their faces. "Move!" Vincent yelled, pulling Samuel back to safety. "No! You don't understand. This is our moment." She thrust her arms wide, the air shimmering with energy. But then, a horrifying twist. A chain of explosions erupted from the darkness behind her. The ground shook violently, and out of the chaos, figures cloaked in black surged forward, weapons drawn, eyes filled with fury. "Seize them! We need them back," one shouted. Vincent felt his heart drop. "Protect Samuel," he screamed, adrenaline surging. But amidst the chaos, the woman stood still, as if frozen in time, a strange smile creeping onto her lips. "Mom, move!" Vincent cried. But her presence seemed to thrum with power. Drawing the shadows toward her, she reached into the depths of her cloak, revealing a small key-like object that glowed with ethereal light. Then, everything changed. "You're not what you think you are," she whispered, eyes narrowed. "I never was your mother. I'm the architect of your destiny." With a flick of her wrist, the light intensified, reaching out like tendrils of lightning. Shock swam into Vincent. "What?" he choked. "You're lying!" The street erupted into chaos. Screams mingled with the sounds of destruction. The cloaked figures lunged forward, but Vincent was rooted in disbelief. The twists of a life he believed were true unraveled in front of him. "No, Samuel, run!" he managed. But Samuel stood, paralyzed by the revelation. "Vincent, is this true?" His voice cracked, brimming with sorrow. "I don't know!" Vincent shouted, feeling the ground beneath them slip away. "But we can't stay!" And in that moment, the shadows lunged and something pulsed. The cloaked figures had landed in front of them, cornering them. "Your time is over," one hissed, brandishing a weapon. "What did you do?" Samuel cried, the hurt spilling from his eyes. But as the destruction spread and panic enveloped them, Vincent knew one thing. They had only scratched the surface of a far deeper mystery. Everything had changed, and the shadows would not be the only threat lurking in the darkness. Would they discover the truth, or would the chaos consume them whole? Vincent pulled Samuel close, the chaos swirling around them like a storm. The cloaked figure loomed in the backdrop, the air thick with tension. "We need to keep moving," Vincent shouted, but Samuel looked back, confusion etched across his face. "Do we really need to?" Samuel breathed, trembling. I don't understand what's happening." Vincent stared into his brother's eyes. "I don't fully understand either, but we can't let them take you. We'll figure this out together." Just as they turned to flee, a sudden, blinding light erupted from the cloaked figure. Vincent felt it wash over him, freezing him in place. He glimpsed shadows flickering at the edges of his vision, memories twisting and turning just out of reach. "No!" Samuel yelled, his voice a plea caught in the grip of fear as he stumbled backward. "What's happening to me?" In that instant, Vincent felt something shift in the air, an electric charge pulsing with raw energy. A scream of agony pierced the night, echoing through the streets. Vincent instinctively shielded Samuel, but the light enveloped them. Everything warped and twisted, faces morphing, becoming menacing and familiar. And just as suddenly, the light faded and the crowd gasped. Vincent blinked, shock hitting him like a slap. A figure stood before them, towering and imposing. The air crackled with menace. It was a woman, eerily similar to the mother he thought he'd lost. "Mom?" he croaked, disbelief flooding his veins. She stepped forward, eyes glinting with a knowing smile. "I hoped you would both find me." The crowd stirred, whispers of fear and recognition slicing through the tension. Samuel's eyes widened, shock mixing with disbelief. "You're alive?" He staggered, his breath hitching in his throat. "Yes, but there's so much you don't know." She reached out, glowing tendrils of energy wrapping around her. "I am the one who protected you, and now I need your help to reclaim what was taken from us." But just as she spoke, a thunderous crash echoed through the square, vibrations rattling the ground. The crowd stumbled back, panic flooding their faces. "Move!" Vincent yelled, pulling Samuel back to safety. "No! You don't understand! This is our moment!" She thrust her arms wide, the air shimmering with energy. But then, a horrifying twist. A chain of explosions erupted from the darkness behind her. The ground shook violently, and out of the chaos, figures cloaked in black surged forward, weapons drawn, eyes filled with fury. "Seize them! We need them back!" one shouted. Vincent felt his heart drop. "Protect Samuel!" he screamed, adrenaline surging. But amidst the chaos, the woman stood still, as if frozen in time. A strange smile creeping onto her lips. "Mom, move!" Vincent cried. But her presence seemed to thrum with power, drawing the shadows toward her. She reached into the depths of her cloak, revealing a small key-like object that glowed with ethereal light. Then, everything changed. "You're not what you think you are," she whispered, eyes narrowed. "I never was your mother. I'm the architect of your destiny." With a flick of her wrist, the light intensified, reaching out like tendrils of lightning. Shock slammed into Vincent. "What?" he choked. "You're lying!" The street erupted into chaos. Screams mingled with the sounds of destruction. The cloaked figures lunged forward, but Vincent was rooted in disbelief. The twists of a life he believed were true unraveled in front of him. "No! Samuel! Run!" he managed. But Samuel stood, paralyzed by the revelation. "Vincent, is this true?" His voice cracked, brimming with sorrow. "I don't know!" Vincent shouted, feeling the ground beneath them slip away. And in that moment, the shadows lunged, and something pulsed. The cloaked figures had landed in front of them, cornering them. "Your time is over," one hissed, brandishing a weapon. "What did you do?" Samuel cried, the hurt spilling from his eyes. But as the destruction spread and panic enveloped them, Vincent knew one thing. They had only scratched the surface of a far deeper mystery. Everything had changed, and the shadows would not be the only threat lurking in the darkness. Would they discover the truth, or would the chaos consume them whole? In the midst of the chaos, Vincent's heart raced. The cloaked figures loomed closer, the air thick with tension. Samuel stood beside him, frozen in shock. "What do we do?" Samuel whispered, panic threading through his voice. "Stay behind me," Vincent shouted, stepping forward, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down. His eyes darted to the woman who claimed to be his mother. "You need to help us," he implored. A smirk crossed her lips. "You must understand, the truth is a powerful weapon, but it can also be your downfall." Vincent's heart sank. "What are you saying?" But before she could answer, a flurry of movement erupted from the cloaked figures. Their shadows danced toward them, closing in fast. "Seize them!" one commanded, the others following suit. Fear surged through Vincent. He grabbed Samuel's arm and bolted. "Run, now!" They pushed through the crowd, adrenaline coursing through their veins, desperate to escape. "Vincent, where are we going?" Samuel gasped, struggling to keep up. "Anywhere but here," Vincent yelled, his voice barely audible over the chaos. They ducked around corners, dodging, terrified people shouting and screaming. The ground trembled beneath them, cracks appeared in the pavement, and Vincent felt the air shimmer with danger. "They're chasing us," he shouted, glancing back. The cloaked figures were relentless, closing in. "We need to fight back," Samuel shouted, green sparks flickering around him as fear fed his power. Vincent hesitated, feeling the urgency. "No, we can't expose ourselves. Not now." But there was a flicker in Samuel's eyes. "You saw what she did. We can't just run. We have to confront them." The streets turned into a battleground. Dark shadows clashed with bursts of light as Samuel summoned his power. "I won't let them take me again," he declared, determination replacing fear. Vincent's heart swelled. Together, they stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to face the storm. Then, a blinding flash erupted. The cloaked figure staggered, the shadows pulling back momentarily as if shocked by Samuel's energy. "This is it!" Vincent shouted, rallying his courage. Samuel focused, unleashing his abilities, a surge of light cutting through the darkness. Vincent felt the warmth wash over him, pushing back the fear. "Keep going!" With that, they charged into the fray. Energy crackled, merging their strengths. It was pure, raw emotion, fear laced with hope, anger tangled with love. In one decisive moment, Samuel released a brilliant wave of light, engulfing the cloaked figures. The night glowed like dawn, illuminating their faces. Vincent felt the tension crackle and then shatter, the shadows retreating, dissolving into nothing. Breathing heavy, Vincent looked at Samuel, their hearts pounding in unison. "We did it," he whispered, disbelief and relief flooding through him. But then, a voice echoed, "You can't escape the truth." It was the woman, her form flickering in the aftermath. "I will find you." Her threat lingered in the air, mixing with the chaos around them. Vincent clenched his fists. "We'll face it together," he vowed, glancing at Samuel. "No more hiding. We will uncover our past. We owe it to ourselves." Samuel nodded, determination shining through his fear. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting warm hues into the sky, they felt a sense of hope despite the uncertainty ahead. Together, they could unlock the mysteries of their past. Vincent reached for Samuel's hand, grounding their bond. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice steady. "And we're in this together." They turned to face the rising sun, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now, before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You must subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button to help feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know about this wild conclusion. Stick around, because you can now click on the exciting story at the end of the video. Follow another equally or even more thrilling tale. What are you waiting for? Join us!